as I mentioned to start the show, we have a couple of guests with us tonight, Kobe and Matt from our other grid shows, kind enough to join us for championship weekend here. So, Kobe, I'll start with you. How big of a deal is this championship, not just for Zane Smith, but for Bob Jenkins and the entire Front Row Motorsports team?
Oh, Ben, this is a huge deal for Front Row Motorsports. I'm thinking about looking back at the history of Front Row Motorsports. They started off their time in the NASCAR Cup Series as backmarkers, just trying to make it by each weekend qualify for all of the races, and look at what they've become. I remember when they got their first win at Talladega. That was an epic finish. They're one of the biggest upset underdog stories that we saw at the time, with David Reagan, David Gilliland working together in the draft, beating Carl Edwards there at Talladega with David Reagan going to victory lane. That was such an incredible moment. And then Chris Buescher in the fog at Pocono getting that surprise victory. The Front Row Motorsports even won the biggest race in NASCAR, the Daytona 500 with Michael McDowell, and now getting a NASCAR championship in the Truck Series. Such an incredible ride it's been for Bob Jenkins. It just goes to show and also give some encouragement to some other race teams who are currently running at the back of the field, that the state of course, do whatever you can to survive, especially when tough financial situations arrive. Because one day you can be Front Row Motorsports. You can just use that model to excel. Like in 10 years from now, we might be talking about Rick Ware Racing, NASCAR champions, whether it's in Cup, Xfinity, or trucks. Who knows? And I think this should serve as a motivation for some of the smaller teams in the sport.
Yeah, and I think if Rick Ware Racing in our lifetime wins some sort of NASCAR championship, that has to be the shining moment of the century, to be honest with you. But to really answer the question, it's got to be probably the biggest thing to ever happen to Front Row Motorsports. I mean, granted, Michael McDowell did win the Daytona 500 not technically last season, but 2 seasons ago. It's just a tremendous deal. I mean, this is a truck team that is very new to the sport. I believe they've only done 68 races, something like that. Started the team in 2020 with Todd Gillen, ended up taking over when Todd Gillen moved, went to Zane Smith. Zane Smith's got it done. Just plain simple, it's got it done. Finished second and then finished first. So for a new team like this, for an organization that has been in the sport for quite a long time, I mean, we were all barely even in school, 4 or 5 years old, when Front Row joined NASCAR under a different name back in 2004-2005 season. And now Truck Series, they were here for 2 years, came into COVID with 2020, and now they're NASCAR Truck Series championships within 2 years. So it's a tremendous thing to happen for Bob Jenkins and this Front Row Motorsports team, and especially for Zane Smith too. I mean, he's a guy who has a lot of talent. What we have seen with him coming finish, not knowing last year where he was going to be, what ride he's going to have, and then saying, let me just go win the championship. And he did just that. So it's going to be exciting to see him from a perspective young kid who will be making a Cup Series races next season with, it'd be it would be Front Row. I'm so sorry. So many Fords. So this is a fun thing we talk about the Truck Series. There are probably going to be one Ford team, maybe. And then we look into the Cup Series, there's like 15 Fords. So you never know with that. But yeah, this is definitely a very tremendous thing for Front Row Motorsports. I'm very happy to see a team like this who has been in the sport for so long finally get what they've been looking for in the Truck Series with a championship.
Yeah, Matthew, I can stand with everything you and Kobe just said there. Front Row Motorsports, that's huge for them to have a championship, be wherever it be. It's in the Truck Series. That's just a big of a accomplishment, being in the top 3 touring series. And I know as much as we pick on leeches here on this show and some of the other shows, I love Cup team involvement in the Xfinity Series and what's going to be now the Craftsman Truck Series. I've liked it in the past. I really just like that familiarity from fans that may just stick with the Cup Series. I think that's a great way for them to branch out into the other 2 series that they may not watch as much, because if you get some familiar tie-ins to them, they might be interested in watching these lower divisions. And I've always been a fan of Cup Series teams that venture back to the Xfinity and Truck Series. And one in particular, like Roush and Xfinity, I would really like to see them make a comeback with the 60 car or something like that. Although it was cursed. People think it was cursed, though. A big championship, though, for Zane Smith and Front Row Motorsports as a whole. And really I just like seeing that 38 on a truck.
Well, you never know with the Keselowski connection now with RFK. Of course, Brad Keselowski used to have his truck team, and you think of all the Cup Series stars that we see now that can trace their roots back. Even Ross Chastain was mentioning Brad, I think, in his post-race interview at Phoenix yesterday. So who knows what the future holds for the Truck Series. Hey everyone, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for watching. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Grid Network highlights and analysis. And for full episodes of Grid Live Encore and other Grid programming, subscribe directly to Grid Network.